We did a little title search on the property which the Leonards own, and we noted that the racing track was owned by somebody named Howard and Isabel McNitt. Who are they?
That's my mother and father.
Okay. And they bought the property. They owned the property for a long period of time. Was it Harry McNitt? Who was a Harry?
Harry McNitt was my dad's father, and Mabel was his wife. They lived there for years, and my folks lived down below. They built a home down below, about half a mile from there.
Right.
And my grandmother went to Coldwater, Michigan, took care of her mother, bedridden mother, for about 10 or 12 years.
Right.
And then she came back, and she died in January of '69.
Okay. So Harry McNitt bought the property in 1928, and then transferred over to Howard McNitt, and Howard and Mabel owned it really for a long period of time. So you grew up in that property?
Yeah, I grew up between my grandmother's and the house down below.
And how many children were there? So it was you and who else?
And my older brother, he's 2.5 years older, and then I got a younger brother, 3 years younger than I am.
So the older brother was Don?
No, I'm Don.
Howard.
My oldest brother was Howard A. McNitt,
right.
Jr., or whatever you want to call it.
Right. And your younger brother was?
Harry.
Okay.
Harry McNitt.
Also known as?
Red. I have to stop and think.
Yeah. How did a Don and a Howard McNitt come up with the idea of converting your pasture land there into a racetrack?
I was probably 5 or 6 years old. They had a racetrack over by Sugar Grove, Satan's Bowl of Death. And I worked at Weber Knapp's, and one day I just got to thinking about it. And I thought if we could make that into a racetrack, I could help my grandmother out financially, you know.
Right.
And so Lee and James, Don and all them, they got in with me and helped me. And of course I paid them, you know, and stuff, but they gave me a big break to get going.
So about when would you have thought about this? In 1955?
55.
How did you map it out? You look at the land and you see that it's not just a flat piece of land. How did you figure out where the track would go?
Well, we started at the lower level where I used to hoe the potatoes. That was rich land right there.
Right.
And then it went across the creek. And then it went up and around the back straightaway. And then when you come down, the third and fourth corner was supposed to be the most exciting. Well, it got to be the most dangerous, so we put a bridge in down there. And it just kept going and going, and we had a good time. We had a good attendance, a lot of cars. We had one week we had 112 race cars.
112
race cars, and they come in up above where the house is. We made a driveway in there, and then we had the orchard, and then that field above the house. And that day we had so many cars we had to put them, I don't know where we put them, along the road I guess, but they had a lot of cars.
So you finally built the track in 1955 with bulldozers and just
graders, bulldozers. Bulldozers a big thing.
And then you decided that in 1956 you would open the track.
Yep.
How did you get the word out? How did you tell people about that, or was there so much?
A guy by the name of Roger Hyde that wrote for the Post-Journal in Jamestown. He was a big factor in getting the word out, and then we advertised in the paper.
Right.
And I think there was one other track at that time in the area, and that was in Leon, New York.
So in fact, I'm looking at one of Roger Hyde's articles that said, third try Sunday for Rollerball. Brothers Howard and Donald McNitt try for the third time this Sunday to get their jalopy racetrack rollerball off the ground, and the weather, for a change, seems to be cooperating. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I wondered if I did the right thing. because they run through the creek and they take the water around and everything, but it really brought the crowd out.
Right.
Yeah, and we had a good almost 3.5 years run.
So close your eyes for us and kind of tell us a little bit about taking a lap around the track. Just, from the car would come out of the orchard and come onto the track. Where would you start them? Up on the hill?
No, they would come down out of the pits and they come back up over the back or the upper back straightaway around the corner, and they'd line up right in front of the judge's stand on the lower track facing the house and barn, what used to be there. And they'd start them from there, and they'd go around. I think we didn't pay much money then. Of course, you only charged $1.25 to get in.
But when the first few races you had, the creek was, they would ride right through the creek, right?
Right. On the first corner and then go into the second corner, he'd run through the creek, back straight away. Everybody'd be trying to crowd everybody, and they'd come around that corner. Half the time they'd push them down off the creek, and so we decided to put in a plank bridge, which worked out pretty good.
On both ends, both between?
No, we left the one end open because that's the way the track was supposed to be. It's no speed track.
Right.
And you could get a junk car in them days for $35, $40 and put some rollover bars in it and race probably less than $100, say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really was a truly jalopy track.
It was a jalopy track.
And it said here that at least the first year you would not let cars be any younger than a 1952. Did you have rules and regulations of?
Yes. With the drivers, we had meetings, and they would tell us what they wanted, and that's the way it should be, to satisfy the drivers within so reasonable rules,
Like what? What kind of rules would there be?
Well, you couldn't soup them up too much or nothing like that. And of course, nobody had the money in them days to soup them up.
Right.
And there were some guys there, Jim Scott, he knew what to do. Mm-hmm. Emery Mann, he knew what to do.
Right.
I'm leaving out somebody, but I can't remember. But when you're in a jalopy racetrack, you're pretty even anyhow. Once you get through the creek and crowd each other. Leo Yeager was our starter for us. Yeah. And
well, I noticed a couple of your earlier races, there's headlines talking about jalopy winner is disqualified, and that, so apparently you had some rules which would have disqualified a few folks.
I can't remember that. My brother might, I don't know, but well, it had to be some reason, I know that.
Yeah, it just said here, he was given the boot after winning the 15-lap headliner because it contained a 4-barrel carburetor and an oversized radiator.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, there had to be standard carburetors and standard radiators. You refresh my memory.
Now, did you race at all, Don?
No, I raced at State Line a little bit, but
right.
And we just raced special races there,
So every once in a while, would the brothers race?
Oh, yeah.
Who won?
I had my fair share. My brother Red was the toughest, so.
Was he?
Yeah. He was a bulldozer.
We didn't mind moving you around, did he?
No. Around and around. But it was all in fun, Them were the good days, as far as I'm concerned, racing.
So, in 1956, you started. At the end of the year, did you feel like you made any money for the benefit of your family?
Well, we made enough to buy a pump to wet our track down with.
Right.
And State Line was just starting out, and they'd borrow the pump, and then once in a while I'd borrow their water truck.
Right.
And we had a water tank, but we had Skip Furl got hurt real bad on it. Right. And that was the end of that, If we didn't have a truck, we didn't wet it. Blinky can tell you.
Yeah. Well, I know Skip's talked a little bit about his accident. What happened there? Do you recall?
Yeah, I was driving the tractor, and we went up on the back. We was wetting the fourth corner down, really, up in the straightaway in the corner. And I went to turn around, and strap busted in the tank, and Skip jumped the wrong way, and the tank pinned him.
Right.
But thank God we had Lloyd's of London insurance, and it took real good care of Skip. And he had one of our parents, Harold and Ida Furlow, and they didn't sue.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you think about. But
Yeah.
with Lloyd's of London, we was well covered.
Good, good. Talk to me about the economics of a racetrack. How much did it cost for the drivers to get in? Do you remember?
Blinky, can you help me on that? $2
$2
admission.
$2 admission. So that's what the driver would pay to get in.
And that covered the insurance.
Covered the insurance.
Yeah.
So everybody, every racer had to sign, probably had to sign a sheet, and then he was covered.
Yeah. They just signed in they was covered because we had a blanket policy with Lloyd's in London, and any claim we ever had, I don't think it never turned it down.
Right. What was a normal race card? How many races were there during an afternoon?
Well, when we was normal would be 3 heat races and 2 semis and a feature.
Would the when it came time for the feature, how did you line them up? Was there any order to that?
Yeah, we took the hot cars and kind of kept them in the back. Leo Yeager did the lining up, so I wouldn't want to get involved in that because you're favoring him or them, you know, and Leo did a good job.
So the faster cars would be in the back, the slower in the front. I think I've seen pictures where literally there was cars all the way around the track.
Yeah, and that was tough for them guys when they got that many cars. We didn't need that many cars. You know, we had, Blinky was one of the first drivers there, and he can tell you, when it got that many cars, you're just lucky to get up there in front, you know, but most of them was, drivers were real good people.
So, and what was the payout in a normal day? You got obviously $2 per car, and
I think, now he can correct me on that, I think 15, 10, and 5 or something. It wasn't a lot, yeah. It wasn't a lot of money, but we didn't take in a lot of the $1.25.
10, 8, and 5.
10, 8, and 5, that could be, yeah.
35 for the feature.
Okay.
After that, I can't remember.
I don't remember, it's been so long, but, you know, it was interesting.
Those were good days.
Yep.
now you ran the track in '56, and I noticed that even in '57, you continued to have really big crowds.
Yeah.
What would be a normal crowd? How many people would attend as spectators?
Well, you always figured if you had 50 cars, there's at least 5 people to every car or following the race. So I'd figure 250, 300 on an average. I might be wrong, I don't know, but we had some big crowds. Yeah, some days 500 when you had 100 cars.
Where would you park the spectators? I mean, I know that road is not very big.
No, they pull in and we had a fence and they'd pull right down to the fence all the way along the front straightaway. Then they'd park up along the road. And everybody was good. We had some good people.
So from the spectators' perspective, they would come through a gate. There was a fence along the road there?
Yeah, snow fence.
Snow fence, and then they would just pay to drive their car in?
Yeah.
Okay. And as I recall, I remember the stand, the hot dog stand.
Right.
And that was sort of the food, the French fries and the hot dog. And,
yep.
Did you permit beer? Was there alcohol served?
No alcohol, no.
I remember that.
I'm not against it, but I didn't believe it had a place in the racetrack.
Sure.
Pepsi-Cola did.
Did you have corporate sponsors? Were there anybody like Pepsi? Did they sponsor it all, or?
No, they'd put a race on, but they never contributed no money.
Yeah. As you look back those first couple of years, there must have been a few of the drivers that sort of stood out in your mind as really good.
Yeah.
Who would they be?
Well, Blinky Litzinger, Fred Eggleston, Jim Scott, Skip Furlow.
I think Dick Pangborn won more features at Rollerball than anybody.
Who did?
Dick Pangborn.
Yeah, Dick Pangborn, I forgot about him. A lot of the names I forget.
Yeah.
If I had my books there, I could tell you.
Do you have books?
In Florida.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Well, Pam will be in touch.
Okay.
She'll want to share, see if she can copy those. Did I noticed that through when looking at the articles that occurred during that you and your brother would try to have some special acts or routines or some things that would occur during the race to bring people out. What were some of those?
One was rolling over a car how many times.
How would that work?
Well, they come down out of the second corner and come down into the first corner, and then that bank, they go up on the bank and they just roll over and over. That was one of them. Then we had a kind of a foolish guy that was on the hood of a car and run through in the fire. I won't mention his name.
Well, we will, since we've heard about it. It's Bud Yeager's brother.
It was me.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah.
You did that too?
Yeah.
Did Leo Yeager do that as well, or was
I don't think so.
just you?
Do you? I don't think.
I thought Leo was the one that did it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I did it.
All right, well, let's
Yeah.
stop and talk about that. What possessed you to get on a hood of a car?
Need the crowd.
All right, well,
People come to see you, do foolish things.
so I know your brother Red would like to roll over the car,
Yeah.
and so your shtick was get on the. How did it work? I mean,
Pretty good. I didn't have my head quite back far enough and hit my helmet. I had a stiff neck for a couple of days, but the guy said, how dumb can you get? You get your head back beyond the hood ornament.
Yeah.
And we use regular lumber where they have a special lumber they burn, see? We didn't know it.
So you
Foolish.
were grabbing onto nothing but the hood.
Just laying on the hood, hanging on.
Who was driving?
I have no idea.
Might have been my brother Red.
Yeah.
He'd give it to me.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, when I stop and look back, how foolish. How foolish.
well, there are some movies of that. I
Yeah.
just want you to know that.
Yeah, I got one of that too,
Oh, my
my folks.
Gosh. What else? What other kind of events would have occurred? The wall of the house, what's called the House of Fire Daredevil stunt. In fact, here it is. God darn it, we can now resolve this once and for all. There's an article in the Post Journal.
Yeah.
And Don McNitt entertained the crowd of about 800 with a successful House of Fire Daredevil stunt. That was it.
You got me black and white. Roger Hyde really give us a good write-up all the time. And
Was he a race fan?
nah, I liked him, he liked us.
Right.
And then I had a boy run the track in Pennsylvania, and he won the second in the mile states, and then the next year he won it. The 880 he never beat in, and he would write, when he wrote the articles about my son, he'd go back to the racetrack. So he's quite a guy.
What other events? Did you have any? Did you have powder puff races?
Yes, we had powder puffs.
And who were some of the ladies that drove? Do you remember any of their names?
Clarine James,
Beulah Eggleston,
yeah.
those are the only two I can recall.
Uh,
I know there was more, but
there was quite a few women. We usually had 4 or 5 at least racing, And they're more wild than men. Right, Blinky?
I was never out there with them, I don't know.
Yeah, but you see them drive.
Yeah, they talk about 2 special events, also highlighting the car. Clarine James, the winner of the Powder Puff Derby for women, and then they had a special 4-car, 6-lap race. So it sounds like you try to do something different
Yeah.
all the time.
We give kids races, ride in a race car during the halftime for the feature, and then we'd give them free hot dogs and pop. And one of the young lads that was there, his name was Francis Seaman. He owned Seaman's Auto Parts.
Okay.
And when I go to buy parts off him, I bought did a Buick, and it would have cost me $150 a piece for the airbags. He said, when you see me, Don, he said, I'll take care of you. He sold me the pair for $100, and he told me about. He still remembered that. His dad raced there too.
Well, let me show you, just to give you a little perspective. That is a picture taken at exactly that time during a half between intermission, and
Yep.
that's, I think, your brother's car,
Yep,
and that's me and my brother.
it is.
So in case you're wondering that I have more than a passive interest in things rollable.
Yeah. How old was you then? 55, and then add on. He ain't saying.
Well, let's just say it would have been 1956, 57, so
Yeah.
I'd have been 6 or 7.
I'll be darned. Where did you live then?
I lived in Jamestown.
Oh, Jamestown?
Yep. Where did most of the drivers come from?
All over New York.
Yeah.
Come from Westville, a lot of them, Jamestown, Pennsylvania, all over.
I noticed in the articles there's always a reference to the James brothers. How many were there?
There's Clyde, Louis, Don. I'm leaving out one. The one that got passed away, electrocuted, Waller. Yeah, Waller.
Roy,
Roy, Leroy.
Alvin.
Yep, you're right.
Did you ever have a time where you just let the James boys race?
I don't think so. I'd been too dangerous.
Yeah, there's one race.
Was it? Did we have one race with them?
Yeah, you let the James brothers race.
How'd they do?
I can't remember who won, but it's listed in the articles.
I'll be darned. See, my mind, I'm 75 now. I got an excuse, you know, Mikey.
I'm 76, going on 77.
Yeah, but I had a hard life.
Boy, he hit his head several times.
Yeah. That's a perfect time to show the movie again. Among you ran the track from 56, 57, 58,
Yeah,
and started in 59.
yeah.
What happened during that time period? Did you notice? Obviously, attendance fell.
Right.
Why was that?
Well, there's one track when we started in Leon. In 59, there was 12 different tracks in the town of Chautauqua. 12. And, you know, if you can pay the drivers anything, and your insurance was 75 or 100 a week, you had to get a pretty good crowd just to pay your insurance, you know.
So basically, did you race much in 59 at all, or did you just sort of start and stop?
I don't remember. I can't really tell you.
I mean, did you remember how? There's not many articles in 59.
Yeah. I don't think we raced too much.
Then in 1960, a guy named Litzinger and Pangborn come to you guys and say, let's try it one more time.
Right.
And so the track was there, and
Oh, yeah.
you just said, you know.
There it is.
Yeah. As you look back on running the rollable track for 3.5 years, what was the highlight?
Meeting all the people I met.
Yeah.
Nice people. And sometimes I lived in Youngsville, and I drove truck over the road then, and sometimes it was hard for me to get there. But my dad helped us out, and my brother Red, and we did okay. It was real interesting. That's all I can say. Good people, a good experience. I wouldn't pass it up for $1,000 or $1 million.
Yeah. Just the race itself, you mentioned Leo Yeager was pretty much the flag man.
Right.
Was there a public address announcer? Was there sort of did you have anything like that?
Yeah, I had a Raleigh Woods did it, and I did it. Who else did that? There was two of us that did most of it, the announcing.
I always thought it was you.
Well, 90%. But Raleigh Woods, he helped me out.
Well, Raleigh raced there too.
Yeah, he raced.
Now, wasn't his wife taking care of the laps?
Yeah, you're right, she did. And then my neighbor from Youngsville, he helped me. But It wasn't hard to hardly keep the laps now like NASCAR. I don't know how they do it, you
Right,
know, because
right.
there were some arguments among the drivers, but you can't keep everybody happy.
Were there ever incidences that you recall where the drivers kind of got out of the car and were hot at some other drivers?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're laughing, so talk about an incident
No,
or two.
I won't mention no names.
No names, just don't have to mention names, but an incident, just,
Well, you cut me off in the corner. Why'd you push me out?
yeah.
I was leading, and it's the same way with big time racing. Hey, if you got a chance and you're all fired up, you're going to push them.
Right.
It's human nature.
Mhm.
I want to be number one.
Right.
And no, there wasn't that much fighting up there that I seen. There might have been more in the pits, but out where we was, they was pretty calm people.
Yeah.
And
So where were you during most of the race, Tom?
up in the judges' stand.
Okay, where was that?
Well, as you come in the main gate, just turn to the left a little bit, and it was right on the straightaway in the front's like this here, and I was right about here.
Okay,
Yeah, a little bit before you went into the corner.
okay. And so, and the flagman, Leo, he would have been on the track itself, or would he
No,
up in the stand?
Now, he'd be in the track himself. We had a speaker that went over to him from the judges' stand, went over the track and down,
Okay,
and he was in contact all the time.
and the normal race again was about 6 races.
Yeah.
Yep. And did your brother Howard go stay with you the whole 3.5 years? Or
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's really very much a family affair.
Was,
Yeah.
right. Yep.
What did your grandma think of all this while this was going on?
$25 a week, she liked it. You know.
Did she come out and watch it? Did
Oh,
she-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was a great woman. And I can remember her making us snowsuits when we was young, and
Right,
that's one reason I started it. Thought maybe we could help her a little bit.
right.
And I had 4 kids. There wasn't much I could do raising them, and worked at Weber Knapp's in Jamestown.
Right.
No, I just got the idea one day at work, and I brought it home to my dad, and he just looked at me, and then I got a hold of my brother, and I went up and talked to my grandmother, and of course, what Don wants, he gets, you know. She was nice, you know.
Yeah.
But it was just sitting there, and it wasn't being used, see.
I'm always curious as to just as you mapped out the track itself, did you take a bulldozer and just sort of kind of work your way around the field? How did you?
If I remember right, Lee and James was the father.
Right.
And he come up, and my brother and I and my dad walked around with him and kind of told him about what we wanted to follow Satan's Bowl of Death. And he'd been there before, and he said, well, I can make her. And where it went into the creek, they had to grade it. The creek was just like this, went down in and up. And they graded it so they could come in there pretty good speed, you know.
Right. When Leon James, did he come with the boat? Did he actually move all the dirt?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so he actually constructed it.
Leon made the track.
Yeah,
Yep.
made the track. Between turns 3 and 4, how many cars did you often lose coming around that end there? That seemed to be a tough corner.
Yeah. Not every time, but a lot of them would go off the bridge, and some of them would get too far over and go up the bank and roll over. But all in all, the drivers were good.
Yeah.
Good bunch of fellows.
Did you ever lose any people along the straightaway on the top there? You know, after turn 2,
Yeah.
There's quite a drop there.
No, not that I know of. You mean in the center of the track?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. They was getting ready for 3 and 4. They was too busy worrying about straightaway.
But that was the straightaway there was pretty wide
Yeah.
there and really wide after turn 4, right?
Yeah.
So most people, if they were going to pass, they were going to pass after turn 4?
After 4, a lot of them passed into turns.
Okay.
Yeah. If they were brave enough, you know, and they'd come around, you could bounce off somebody and make it around, you were safe.
Yeah.
Might not be safe when you got back to the pits, but I don't think there's ever too much fighting in the pits. Do you, Blinky?
I've never seen one.
No. I've seen arguments before, but nothing where fist fights or nothing like that.
And there's an office fight up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun experience.
Now, did you find that State Line Speedway was really sort of when they started having the features up at the jalopy features at State Line, did that really hurt you?
No,
No?
no.
No?
We had our own crowd mostly.
Okay. You
Yep.
didn't lose many cars to
No.
yeah.
They didn't have many jalopy races, and then they went to late model or what we didn't run, see.
Right.
But where could you find that many cars now under the year of 54?
Right, yeah.
You just can't find them.
Yeah.
And, no, quite an experience.
If you had to do it all over again, is there anything that you would have done differently during that 3.5-year period?
Not a thing.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
No. My mother and my two sister-in-laws and my wife, they run the hot dog stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the customers that come every week was Roy Faulkner. I don't know if you ever remember him, Harold Faulkner's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He'd always walk up and he says, I want 2 black hot dogs, and I mean black, every Sunday.
Yep.
And we had a lot of people from Warren come up at I noon,
Is that right?
yeah, to the races just to watch. But
Well, let's see, Jim Scott would come from Garland, right?
Garland, yeah.
Would they come up from much further than that? That seemed to be...
Ripley, New York. We had some from Ripley, Westville, Warren, PA. We had a few people come from Leon one time, but I don't think they liked my track. They only come once or twice, and
Right.
these guys that was racing would show them how to race, you know, and they...
Randy, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fascinated by everything Don has said tonight. You've really done well as far as relating what happened, Don. We've listened to lots of other
Yeah.
people, but I got to tell you, your story is the most fascinating of all. I can't believe that you actually pulled this thing off.
Well, we started on nothing.
Yeah.
And I think Lee and James says, well, I forget what he charged now. It was a lot of money at that time, but in about a month I had him paid off. And Leon was a real good fellow. And he'd come up and grade it and everything. And hadn't it been for him, you know, it'd have been a lot harder.
Let me show you some pictures that may bring back a memory or two. Does that look familiar?
Yeah.
Now that would have been the backstretch, right?
Yeah, it'd been the feature too.
Yeah. Just because of the number of cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's number 4 turn.
Yeah. That probably was not an uncommon sight.
No.
Don, did you have wreckers up there, or how did you get the cars off the track?
Yeah, who come? Oh, the Panama Fire Department come down for fire protection, and I think we give them 20 or 25 a week. Roger Seeley from Blockville here, he was a sheriff. He protected, or he was there to control the crowd. What was your question? I forgot.
About wreckers. Did you have wreckers up there?
Tractors. Tractors.
You pulled the cars off with tractors?
Tractors, yeah.
Oh, big gas, wasn't it?
Yep. And Charlie Bacon,
Yeah.
yeah. They had their Ford tractors and stuff. It worked real good.
Ambulance. Do you have ambulance up there?
Yeah, Panama
Oh,
Fire.
The Panama Fire
Yeah.
Department.
Jim Scott.
Was he one of your better drivers?
Blinky was the best one.
No way.
Hey,
He's playing to the crowd.
nah, he won his share.
Dick Pangborn won more than anybody up there.
Yeah, but he had a good car. I don't know what he raced. Do you? What, Ford?
Ford.
Yeah.
We blew a motor, and we couldn't find a motor, and we stopped down at Lee and James in Asheville, and the boys were there. Oh, Cleo Rush, you remember him?
Yeah, Cleo.
Cleo was he was a welder down there working for Lee and the boys had bought a grain truck, a Ford grain truck from somewhere around Watts Flats for the motor. When the motor was set up, they couldn't get it to turn over. So Dick asked them, what do they want for it? He says, give us $10. So we seen it was rebuilt by Ford, which was
That's really good.
over.
It does bring back memories.
Hey, could I see them?
Sure. I think those came out of Jim Scott's book. I also noticed in one of the, ironically, one of your last sponsored events, it says, Litzinger breaks drought for Jamestown drivers. Blinky Litzinger yesterday became the first Jamestown driver to win a feature event at Rollerball here since Dick Pangborn a few months earlier. And then it goes on in the same article, track co-manager Don McNitt revealed a horse pulling contest with several top-ranked teams entered would be held a week from Saturday. Did you have a horse pulling event?
Yeah. Yeah, we had one.
Did you have anything else other than races?
No, races and then the horse thing.
Did you do that just once, or?
Just once. It
Yeah.
didn't go real good. We made a little money, but he didn't have to have insurance, so.
Yeah. Well, that's where the economics of it all comes in.
Yeah.
That's yours
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
What did your neighbors think? I mean, all of a sudden one day it's a quiet area, Button Valley Road, and all of a sudden for 3 years, there's Sundays are not very quiet.
We had one neighbor down below us. His name was the McDonald family. And they could have cared less.
Right.
They come to the races, and that number 4 corner was almost on his land, saying. He said, well, just take the fence down and go further. And I said, no, we got enough land.
Yeah.
So, no, the neighbors are real good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Well, obviously there continues to be an interest well after the close of the Rollerball in 1960. Here we are in 2007, almost 50 years later, and we're interviewing guys like you and the racers, and the Harmony Historical Society is extremely interested in things Rollerball. So much so that I'm sure Pam will try to see if she can borrow your books and movies,
Yeah.
so we can put it all together in one place. That's fun for us. In fact, Blinky is the guy that put together a lot of the articles.
I give him a lot of credit, but sometimes I didn't know about the meetings, and sometimes just like tonight, I can get away for 2 hours.
Right.
And she'll be all right, but
Yeah.
I don't want to leave her more than 2 hours.
Sure. And Pam's going to come out and talk to your wife
Yeah.
to get some
Okay.
war stories from the female side. It may be a little different perspective.
No, my wife will pretty well be the same as I am, I hope.
We'll find out. During the week, I'm just trying to think of the preparation. You finish Sunday, you close the track. When would you go back out and sort of work on the track again? Was that all week, or?
Tuesday and Wednesday, and Leon would come up and redo the track.
Right.
And it pretty well stayed that way.
Right.
Biggest trouble we had sometimes is 100-degree weather and keeping the track from being so dusty.
Right.
And it didn't bother us so bad as it did the people, and the drivers. But we did a pretty good job, I think.
Did you ever put anything on the track other than water down?
No, that's against the law.
Never use calcium
No.
or brine or anything?
No.
Okay.
Would have been a good idea.
No, and who was the guy that took the pictures of the track and brought them up there and sold them for 50 cents a piece?
I don't know.
He put them on a board up there. That's where I got the pictures I got.
Really?
Wonder who that was. I really don't know.
I asked Red, and I'm sure I think he knows. He told me, but I can't recall it. I think he told me this guy lives in Clymer now.
Well, that's an interesting lead, because somebody may have taken pictures of, like they do at State Line.
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be fun to get the negatives of that?
But you know,
About the rollerball.
you asked me the most important question, would I do it over again?
Yeah,
I said yes.
yes.
The second one, I probably didn't thank as many people as I should have for helping us. Leon I did. Leon knew, and he was a great fellow, and if it hadn't been for Leon, I'd have had a hard time starting.
Right.
But as soon as his boys found out what we was going to do, or I was going to do, Dad, you got to do it, you know.
Right.
But I ruined the potato field. Dad had great potatoes, good yield. I don't miss hoeing up, you know. Of course, I don't know if these young fellows know what hoeing up potatoes is or not. Blinky would. Hoe them up. Take the potato bugs off. I had a friend one time, he says 100% coverage for potato bugs, works every time. He sent, I don't know, $4 or $5 in, he got 2 boards. That's a true story.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, that's.
I guess that's about all.
Well, this is terrific. Very good.
Well, I thank you. I thank you.
Well, we're going to get a picture of you.
This goes ran back. But enjoying it, remember that, right? And it's not competition now. It's just having fun.
Another thing, the day he knocked his teeth out, I won all 3 races.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Then the following week I caught you cheating.
They said that was a defroster vent.
Yeah.
There's a piece of old tire. It looks like it's been burnt. Piece of chrome and part of an old sign.
Well, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, sure, what fun.
Isn't that something? Just a piece of an old sign, piece of chrome. They said that's a defroster vent.
Across the street. This is a hoot. This is a hoot.
There are no scavengers on here.
Well, yeah.
Oh, here we go. What's this?
Oh, geez, look at that.
Any idea who that is?
Motel. Meeting.
You could see it. If you get up here a little bit farther, you could see where, right where you were talking about.
And down in here there was a hole. There was a water hole down there.
Is that where they got the water to water the track from?
Yeah, most of these guys, of course, none of them have been here almost 50 years, you know.
48.
Yeah.
Did you come down? Is this?
Yeah, I went right down through there.
Okay, I seen Red Walders come down
Opposite
through.
of the pit, remember?
I seen Red Walders come down through here and he come right to a dead stop.
and all he had on for a seatbelt was a log chain. And his face went in the steering wheel and busted his nose and just laid his face wide open.
Remember old Bud Hauser?
Yeah.
Track of which you created with your brother. What's your reflections on today?
I feel sad. I feel glad. I'm just glad that somebody did a story on it. I never dreamed they'd do it. It's brought back a lot of memories. And I want to thank you, Pam, Randy, for all the work you put into it. It's been a great day, and the drivers made it.
Thank you.
Same thing as he said. Glad for you guys doing what you done.
We didn't
Did it bring back some memories
Bring
today?
back a bunch of memories.
Yeah.
Lots of fun down there. Too old to have it anymore.